Hello, everybody, and welcome to Formula Facts. We had a very exciting first race this season. A lot of DNFs, a lot of people not finishing. A lot of our predictions that we made last week were wrong, so let's break down what happened. Destiny, let's see. First thoughts about the Australian Grand Prix. What did you think?
Well, it was the chaos that I wanted. So that was exciting. It was some chaos I didn't anticipate. So I did not anticipate Max going out of Q1 of quali because of a mechanical failure. Like that really threw off my fantasy picks. And then even bigger, did not anticipate Oscar Piastri going out on the reconnaissance lap. Totally messed with my fantasy picks. Also, didn't realize we made a big deal last week that Isaac Hadjar was going to finish this race, and he did not. Not of his own fault.
Yeah, it was a disappointing one for a lot of people. We saw Oscar Piastri, him and Isaac Hadjar probably were the most disappointing. Both of them DNFing. This is for two, pretty impressive teams that they were going to expect a lot out of, that McLaren and that Red Bull. But we listened to Lort Meckes, and they asked him, what do you think about Isaac Hadjar in his first performance, in that second Red Bull seat, and he thought he did very well.
He did. He was doing so well. That's what made it so disappointing. I was watching Quali, and I was thrilled when Hadjar got up into the top 10 because finally, it's the second Red Bull driver we deserve. And was so sad about Max, but we knew Max would overcome a gap that big. And he did. And I think if this would have happened later in the season, Max would have ended up on that podium. But it sounds like all the drivers are struggling with the battery deployment. And you could see how it was impacting the leaders of the race. Almost the whole race, it was back and forth between George Russell and Charles Leclerc, which made it super exciting. Like, it wasn't, watch the first 5 minutes, watch the last 5 minutes, you've got the whole race. It was a very exciting race to watch. I think give the drivers a little bit of time and it's going to improve.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that, when lights went out, that was pretty cool, watching all the cars go out for that first time in 2026. And it was, pretty interesting what we saw. Great job by the Ferraris getting a really quick start. We could have expected that from what we saw in all the practices at Bahrain when they did the test starts. But yeah, pretty impressive. And then what about Lando Norris? We were expecting Lando Norris, reigning drivers championship, champion, finishing in fifth. A little disappointing for him, right? But he was trailing behind Max Verstappen, but he eventually got in front of him at the end.
I'm not mad about it. McLarens aren't as quick. They are not as quick. And surprise, who saw Ferrari coming as hard as they did? I mean, everyone talked about Mercedes. Everybody talked about Red Bull. Ferrari was in the conversation. I did not expect them to come out so hot from the start of that race. That was shocking, how quick Ferrari was on my end. Like, I thought I put them in third place. I thought it was going to be another tractor situation.
Yeah, well, if you're Lewis Hamilton, you got to be pretty pumped. This is what you were waiting for. I actually saw one of the clips. It was showing that clip in Drive to Survive where Toto was talking to Lewis and said, if we can really get the car ready for 2026, we're going to have something special. And, look what Mercedes did. Pretty impressive how fast that car is. But Lewis Hamilton, I think he started off in the starting grid. He was in seventh, and then, getting all the way up and finishing where he did, pretty impressive. We see a 3-4 finish for Ferrari, which is pretty great for them.
Which Toto delivered gold during the broadcast. He knew he had a fast car. He knew where those cameras were. He was delivering some pure gold memes. So shout out to Toto because he knew what was up.
Well, I texted you right when qualifying was over. I'm like, did you see Toto? He looks so proud of Kimi and George for how good they did in qualifying. I'm like, oh, good for Toto, because you saw the look he gave, that smile was like, oh, we finally did it. I think it speaks to something. You can really see how fast the car is individually in qualifying. That's why it's pretty interesting that you see that Isaac Hadjar in that Red Bull car got into third. You wonder what Max Verstappen could have done if he got into Q3. And the McLaren, it was pretty obvious that that car is fourth. When you look Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, and then McLaren's going to round it out in fourth with how fast the cars are this year. I really don't think that Andreas Sella, Zach Brown, hit the nail on the head with this one.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, last regulations, they were at the bottom too, and then they ended at the top. So we'll see what happens. But very excited to see Mercedes back on top for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. I mean, it was an exciting race.
and also, I think we should shout out Audi scoring their first points as a new team. So that was pretty cool to see that happen. Jonathan Wheatley, I love that man to death. If you watch Drive to Survive, no, he's like a puppy. So I was super, super excited for him to get his first points. New team, it was just really great. Cadillac struggled, and my God, Aston Martin struggled. It wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been, but it certainly was not great.
Oh, it was pretty bad, and especially because like we've been saying for the past couple of episodes, we expected so much out of this car, and they have delivered nothing. There is absolutely nothing that is exciting about that car. Really exciting though for Audi. The one that we did do really well in our predictions is we guessed the amount of teams that would finish in the top 10, which is pretty exciting. I'm pretty sure because we see Mercedes is in there, Ferrari's in there, McLaren, Red Bull. Haas was in there with Oliver Behrman, Arvid Lindblad. We're not going to talk about him, but he did great, finishing in eighth in his F1 debut. Bortoleto with Audi, and then Pierre Gasly and Alpine. I mean, look at all the teams that we already see in the top 10. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, Arvid Lindblad did a really good job. The Racing Bulls, I was shocked how well they did in quali. Liam Lawson is still a turd. Checo Perez still let him know that he was a turd. Um, and, you know,
Both Racing Bulls getting into Q3, though, qualifying, and also Bortoleto. I mean, that's pretty exciting for them.
yeah, I think it's easier on the younger kids that haven't driven F1 for as long. Of course, I say that, right? Lewis Hamilton was in fourth. Him and Alonso are the current longest serving veterans on the track. And so, I mean, Lewis is doing well, but some of the drivers are having a harder time adapting to the newer regulations. I don't think it's to anyone's detriment yet, though.
Yeah. Well, you wonder if that younger driver, that younger mentality, a lot more energy, if that's going to help them as they have to learn more and more about these new cars, compared to someone like Max Verstappen, who's, completely almost dismissing it at this point. But we'll see how that goes. But we're going to move to China, though, where you have back-to-back weeks. We're going all the way to China.
Yes, so this is part of a 3-week, Formula One calendar sprint. We are in Shanghai. This is our first sprint of the new regulations. So, the Chinese Grand Prix has been a thing since, I believe, 2004. And this is a track that is super interesting. It is designed intentionally to represent the Chinese symbol of Sheng, which means upward. But probably the most notable part of this track is right off the starting line. It gives a little like woo and tight curve. It almost resembles a roller coaster. So turns 1 and 2 go real tight right, and then turns 3 and 4 are reverse. They turn real tight left. And so the G-forces that the cars are doing to make that will make for a very intense turn 1, as always. There's also a section of the track, turns 7 and 8 have real high G-forces. So the pressure will be on the drivers as they're going through that.
Yeah, I think especially the sprint race this year might be better than ever. I mean, especially with these new energy deployments, I think that's going to make the sprints even more exciting than we've ever seen. I don't know if you disagree, but that's what I think is that the sprints are really going to be exciting now with this whole new 2026 regulations.
I think you make a good point. Yeah, I mean, basically the whole race was worth watching. last weekend. So there was something that was always going on. So I think that the sprints are going to be even tighter, even more competitive. Last year's sprint was the only podium that Lewis Hamilton ever had the entire season. And who knows? He came out the gate with McLaren at Shanghai. So this is a track that Lewis knows well. We'll see what he can deliver this weekend.
Yeah, we saw in the front row on the starting grid of the sprint was Lewis and then Max. And then as the race finished off, we saw the podium being Lewis, then Oscar, and then Max. So I think it's going to be a really exciting race, seeing what Max Verstappen can do if he can get into Q3. Because I think it was a really bad example to see what Max can do in this new car when he's stuck, in the back of the grid fighting his way through the whole time. That's always frustrating for him. It's frustrating for people that are trying to watch and see what he's going to do with these new regulations. But it's good that we have another back-to-back week to see what he really can do. But, these weeks all stack up. We look at the end of the season, Max Verstappen down by 2 points last year, and you think, but when you get earlier on in the season, you're like, well, what does that really make a difference, These, every single race matters, and they have to remember that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think there is a lot of potential in this race. Australia was very much the teams and drivers trying to figure out the new regulations and the new cars. So this one, they have a race under their belt. They'll have a sprint under their belt by the time they get to the Grand Prix. I think we will see a more interesting and a little more strategic race. I do think Max would have been on the podium. We forgot to mention that in Australia, it looked like at first he was going for a one-stop pit strategy and then ended up pitting two more times under the safety cars. But it's always interesting to see how the tires are going to wear on these tracks because it's brand new tires as well. So, um, you know, it's just going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. Shanghai is not a street track. It is a dedicated track, so it'll be a little bit different as far as strategy this weekend.
Yeah, last year when we looked at the race, it was, mostly dominated by the McLaren. When they finished off the race, we saw them finishing with the 1-2, Oscar Piastri, getting that one spot. But Mercedes, George Russell also did a great job in last year's race, finishing on the podium in P3. And then on the starting grid, he started off, P2. So I think Mercedes is going to be, and George Russell are going to be a car to look out for in this race. I don't know if the McLaren will be as competitive as they were last year, but I think that Mercedes really has, they're favored in this race, that's for sure, especially with what they did last week.
Yeah. I'm going to look forward to a more Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull three-way competition in this race, especially hopefully that both Red Bulls um, get all the way to Q3 for quali and finish the race. That would be ideal this week.
Yeah, well, while Isaac Hadjar didn't finish the race, I think it also was something that we can look forward to of what a Red Bull team can look like when there's two drivers that can both be competing for points on every given week. I mean, that's something that we've missed out for the last how many years that we think you don't have to check the team standings for Red Bull. You just see how many points Max Verstappen has, and that's about it. So now we really can see this team coming together, and now they can really fight for a constructor championship in the coming years, which is exciting for them.
Yeah. Do you want to get into predictions this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. I think that would be interesting. So give me a second to share my screen. Boom. Great. Here we go.
I'll make my predictions too as we go. Let's see what I'm going to do.
All right, so predict the podium for the 2026 Chinese Grand Prix.
What do we think? I think I think, are we going to go for points? If we're going to go for points, I mean, you have to go with the Mercedes on podium, I think.
I still think Max. I think Max has it in him.
Okay. I think I'm going to go George, Max, Kimmy.
All right, I think I'm going to go Max, George, Lewis.
Ah, that's an interesting one.
Because you could tell how pissed off Lewis was that he was fourth and wasn't going to get podium. And he thought he deserved podium. So this dude is hungry for it. I think Lewis gets his podium with Ferrari.
Well, the next question's also about Lewis. That's good.
Oh, okay. It's the first sprint of 2026. Where does Lewis Hamilton finish? I think he podiums.
I think 4th to 10th.
Do you think 4th to 10th?
Yeah. I'm pretty confident about that one, too.
Okay. In the sprint, which driver finishes the highest for Racing Bulls?
Is that even a question?
Arvid Lindblad or Liam Lawson? It's got to be.
I'll put my 2 points on that. Like 2 times points on that, too. I'm positive.
Okay. Q4. Which driver takes pole?
George.
You think George again?
That car is fast. And I don't know. I think he just has an upper hand on Kimi right now. So I think you have to.
Better than Max?
I haven't seen Max in Q3 to know what he can do. I know what Max can do in Q3, but I don't know what he can do with that car.
All right, George.
You don't have to go with me.
You bring up a good point with George. So, you know what? Let's go George.
Okay.
Q5.
I think this is another easy one.
Qualifies for the Grand Prix highest for Williams?
Gotta be Carlos, right? I don't know. Carlos looks better, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to go Carlos. All right. Who will set the fastest lap? Last week, I said it was going to be Kimi because I did not anticipate Max having to jump from the bottom of the starting grid all the way back up to the top. And so, of course, then he would set the fastest lap. I think Kimi still.
Kimi. Yeah, I was gonna say Kimi too. I'm now thinking about my Williams decision. Alex Albon finished higher. I don't know. What do you think?
He did. He did.
I don't know. I still have faith in Carlos Sainz.
I do too. That faith will never die. Ride or die. All right. Which team will set the fastest pit stop of the race? There's high tire derogation in Shanghai, which means a multi-stop approach.
It was Mercedes last time.
Last week, you gave me a ton of crap for picking Mercedes.
And you got it right.
And I got it right. And I think it's going to be Mercedes again because the whole team is quick.
I'm not getting this one wrong, so I'm going to go Mercedes.
Okay. Will the safety car or virtual safety car be required in the first 10 laps?
I don't think so.
Shanghai has a history of early race collisions and incidents.
They say that to mess with your head. No way. I don't know.
You say no?
I don't know. It didn't work out for us last time.
The safety car still happened. It just didn't happen as early as we thought.
Do you really think that first turn will get people out, though? It might be.
I do with the new cars, and they still can't
Let's
quite
go with
figure
yes.
out.
Let's go with yes.
Going yes. All right. How many classified finishers?
Well, how many were out last time? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people were out last time. Oh no,
I don't think it'll be that high.
So I think like 16 people finished, right? Because Stroll didn't. So I'm gonna go 18.
I'm gonna go 19.
Okay.
All right, last question. Which team will score the most points weekend? Red Bull Racing or McLaren? I'm going Red Bull. I'm putting my double X chip on this.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'd either do that or I'd do my. I don't know if I should use it on my podium. No, I'll say I'll do it for this. I'm pretty confident. Okay, that's it.
Predictions lock in.
We locked it in.
We locked it in.
Our 2026 season predictions, we could still change?
Yes, I'm
changing it.
Don't change it.
Fine, I won't. I should though. I had Lando at second. Ugh.
He still might do it. We don't know. Remember, Mercedes has to change their engine in July.
Yes.
And that impacts half the grid, basically. So We'll see.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be a pretty exciting race. I don't know, but I think about most races. I mean, not Monaco, but like I think this will be a pretty good one. I see a lot of potential. I don't know. I'm excited to see what Aston Martin can do. I wonder what if it's gonna be as bad as it was last time. We'll see. Who knows? But I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Max can do when he gets his car into Q3. That's what I'm really waiting for.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, that was a nice, quick Formula Facts episode. We got all of our Formula Facts in pretty quick.
Facts.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Just remember that in Shanghai, we have our first sprint race this season. So that's something that we can look forward to. We'll see sprint qualifying, and then we have normal qualifying in the race. So a lot that we can review when we get back next week for our next episode of Formula Facts. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jack Lake.
I'm Destiny. Like, share, subscribe.